So, have you ever really stopped to think about it? What actually makes something alive? It sounds like such a simple question, but honestly, it's one of the biggest questions in all of science. Today, we're going to unpack a really simple but super powerful tool that helps us find the answer. And it all starts with a name that's pretty easy to remember: Mrs. GREN. I mean, at first glance, the difference seems totally obvious, right? One of them hops around, eats carrots, and the other one, well, it just sits there. But if you go deeper, what's the actual scientific checklist that separates a living thing from a non-living thing? That's exactly what we're about to figure out. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about what it even means to define life. Then we'll meet our friend MRS Gren. After that, we'll clear up a couple of really common misunderstandings. And finally, we'll put it all together with the ultimate 7-point checklist. All right, so how do scientists actually do it? How do they draw that clear, definitive line between living and not living? Well, it's not just a gut feeling, it's a real system.
Yep, you heard that right. There's a 7-point checklist. And to officially be called living, an organism has to tick every single box. There's no partial credit here, and lucky for us, there's a fantastic little trick to remember this list.
And that brings us to Section 2. It's time to meet MRS Gren. Now, this isn't a person, it's what we call a mnemonic, basically a memory aid, that stands for the 7 processes of life. And this little acronym? It's the key to the whole thing. And there she is, MRSG. It stands for movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. So let's break down what each of these really means, one by one, starting with that M. First up, M is for movement. This one is pretty much what it sounds like. It's any action that makes an organism, or even just part of it, change its position or move from one place to another. You know, like a cheetah sprinting or even a sunflower turning its head to face the sun. Next, we have R for respiration. Now, you're going to want to pay close attention to this one, because respiration is not just breathing. In biology, it's the chemical reaction that happens inside cells to break down nutrients and release energy. This is a super common mix-up, and we'll circle back to it in a bit. S stands for sensitivity. This is all about being aware of your surroundings and reacting to them. You touch a hot stove, you pull your hand back immediately. That's sensitivity. A plant senses sunlight and grows towards it. That's sensitivity too. Then we get to G for growth. And the key word here, the one you really have to remember, is permanent. We're talking about a permanent increase in size and what scientists call dry mass, which is basically just the mass of an organism if you took out all the water. The second R in MRS Green is for reproduction. This one's pretty straightforward. It's just the process of making more of the same kind of organism. You know, making babies to keep the species going. E is for excretion. And again, the biological definition here is really specific. It's all about getting rid of the waste products from metabolism, all those little chemical reactions happening inside the cells. It's basically the body's way of taking out its own chemical trash. And finally, we have N for nutrition. At the end of the day, every living thing has to eat something. It needs to take in materials to get energy and to get the building blocks for growth. For you and me, that's food. For a plant, it's things like sunlight, water, and nutrients from the soil. Okay, so we've met the whole MRSGN family. But like I hinted earlier, a couple of these terms are kind of tricky and trip a lot of people up. So let's just dive in and clear up the 2 most common mix-ups right now. This is a big one. You've probably heard people use these words like they're the same thing. But in biology, are they? The answer is a big, fat no. They are absolutely not the same. And this just lays it out perfectly. Breathing is the physical act, in with the air, out with the air, that gets oxygen into your body. Respiration is the chemical reaction that happens way down inside your cells, where that oxygen is actually used to create energy. Think of it this way. Breathing is the delivery truck dropping off the fuel. Respiration is the factory actually burning the fuel to power everything. So here's the other trap people fall into. We all know living things get rid of waste. But does that mean anytime waste is removed, it counts as excretion in the biological sense? Let's get specific. So the most important thing here is where the waste comes from. True excretion is only the removal of waste made by those metabolic reactions inside the cells. So what about getting rid of undigested food? Well, that's actually not excretion because that food was never truly absorbed and used in a chemical reaction inside the body's cells. All right, let's head into our final section here. We've got our 7 characteristics. We've cleared up some foggy areas. Now it's time to put it all together into the final life checklist. Here it is one more time, your go-to guide. Movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. Just remember MRS GREN, and you've got your checklist for life. And this right here is the golden rule. It is not a buffet where you can pick and choose what you like. An organism has to do all 7 of these things to be considered alive. Think about it. A car moves, and it takes in nutrition, gasoline, but it doesn't grow or reproduce. A crystal can grow, but it doesn't respire. To be alive, you gotta do it all. So, I'll leave you with a final little thought to chew on. What about something like a virus? It can reproduce, but only by hijacking another living cell. It doesn't grow on its own, it doesn't respire. So if you apply these 7 strict rules of MRS-GREN, is a virus really, truly alive? That's a great question, and now you have the tools to think about it.